This presentation is on deaf culture and the importance of language in it. There is deaf culture all around the world, but I chose the United States deaf culture, not only because I am a part of it, but because it is a large part of deaf people's lives and who they are. Social rules in hearing culture are often much different from deaf culture, and often we don't think about the idea of these two cultures being different, or that hearing culture is a culture. But here are some examples of those differences. In hearing culture, eye contact isn't required, but in deaf culture, eye contact is extremely important and necessary so that they understand that you are following along and that you are interested. Pointing is rude, but in deaf culture, pointing is allowed and often used. Tapping hearing people on the shoulder normally startles them, but in deaf culture, tapping a deaf person on the shoulder is a common way of attention getting. Personal questions in hearing culture are often avoided and considered nosy, but personal questions are okay and considered normal in everyday conversation in deaf culture. One of the biggest things is it is okay to say never mind when someone doesn't understand or you will tell them later in hearing culture. But in deaf culture, saying never mind or that you will tell them later and you don't is seen as disrespectful and upsetting because they are used to missing information due to not being able to hear, and then being cut off of the information makes it worse. Last but not least, interrupting in hearing culture is considered rude, but in deaf culture, it is considered rude not to interrupt. Just like in every culture, they have important values, traditions, and behaviors. Since their primary sense is visual and vision, they value using vision in schools, at home, and in the community, as well as learning both ASL and English. Getting people's attention in the deaf world, you have to wave at them if you are in their line of sight, flicker the lights in a room, or tap them on their shoulder. Art is extremely important in being able to express who they are and how they feel in the culture. Examples are on the right. Along with that comes the importance of sign language and the rules that go with such a complex language. American Sign Language is its own language and with its own grammatical structure to make it more functional and easier to sign. Two examples would be, I don't have to go to work, and you would sign, go to work, I have to. And I have to is normally one sign. Another example is I don't have a jacket, where you would sign jacket, none. The language is extremely flexible with signs changing with the generations, and you can also have different accents and dialects in English. There are languages that use more English approach, like English Sign Language or Pidgin Sign Language. Classifiers are symbolic and require a certain amount of knowledge to properly use and understand them. Classifiers are hand shapes that show appearance, movement, location, and often used in storytelling and describe characters and settings. Though the alphabet looks the same as hand shapes and classifiers, they have very different meanings. If you look at the chart on the right, the top red box is the letter C, and the bottom red box is the hand shape C. Although they look similar, they have very different meanings. The hand shape is used to show someone drinking or just a cup instead of the letter C. Storytelling is one of the most important parts of deaf culture and sign language. Since it's a visual language, it's not only reading the words, but using your space, body shifts, facial expressions, classifiers, and more to paint out the story. From how the characters look, walk, and even the world around them and the things they interact with, you are able to picture it perfectly in your mind. Symbolic signs and classifiers are always often used. Along with body shifts are able to help distinguish changes between characters. Storytelling is one of the oldest traditions and an integral part of the language and deaf community. Just like in every culture, it is a means of entertainment, education, and the preservation of culture. Though the culture and the language is always changing, it is an important part of the lives of deaf and hard of hearing people.